Before we dive into this wild HOA story, make sure you hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you never miss these unbelievable neighborhood dramas. Trust me, the ending of this one is legendary, and you won't want to miss it. Imagine planning something heartfelt for months, a family reunion that brings together cousins, aunts, uncles, and grandparents who haven't seen each other in years. Now imagine one person trying to crush it all just because she thinks she runs the neighborhood. That's exactly what happened to me when HOA Karen decided that my family gathering was a violation of community rules. Little did she know, I wasn't about to roll over. This was my family, my home, and my driveway, and I was ready to fight back. It all started in early spring. My family had been talking about organizing a reunion for years, but finding the perfect location was always the challenge. Some lived too far, others didn't want to rent an expensive venue, and most agreed that nothing beats the comfort of gathering in someone's home. Since I had the largest backyard in the family, complete with a fire pit, patio seating, and a wide-open lawn, I volunteered. My wife loved the idea, and the kids were excited to have all their cousins under one roof. For once, the plan was perfect. We set a date for midsummer, sent out the invitations, and everyone confirmed. People were traveling from out of state. Even my grandmother, who rarely leaves her hometown, was making the trip. It was shaping up to be one of the biggest reunions in decades. But of course, the moment happiness arrives, so does trouble. Enter Karen. She wasn't on the HOA board officially, but she acted like she owned it. She lived across the street, and everyone knew her for constant complaints. Lawns too long, cars parked at an angle, kids too noisy. If something brought joy to the neighborhood, you could count on Karen to try and ruin it. One afternoon, while I was setting up tables in the backyard, Karen strutted across the street, arms folded, sunglasses perched on her nose like she was about to interrogate me. "Excuse me," she said, her voice dripping with authority she didn't have. "I heard you're planning some kind of event. That won't be allowed here. This is a quiet community, not a circus." I laughed, thinking she was joking. But no, she was dead serious. She waved around a copy of the HOA handbook, though I knew for a fact she didn't even hold an official position. "Large gatherings are disruptive," she snapped. "And I'll make sure the HOA shuts this down before it even starts." That was the spark. Right then and there, I knew Karen had picked the wrong battle. Because this wasn't just a reunion. This was war. Karen wasn't bluffing. Within days of our confrontation, I received an official-looking letter in the mail. At first glance, it seemed like it came from the HOA. Bold letters, stern warnings, even the association's logo at the top. But the deeper I read, the clearer it became. Karen had drafted it herself. It wasn't signed by the board president, nor by any recognized HOA official. Just a sloppy "sincerely, the HOA management" typed at the bottom. It was laughable, but the message was clear. She was willing to fake authority to get her way. The notice claimed my family reunion violated HOA rules on community peace, parking restrictions, and event permits. She warned that if I continued, I would face fines, penalties, and possible eviction proceedings. Eviction? Over a barbecue in my own backyard? That was Karen's playbook. Exaggerate, intimidate, and hope people back down. But she underestimated me. I contacted the real HOA board immediately. The president, Mr. Rivera, was a reasonable man. When I showed him the letter, he actually chuckled. "This isn't from us," he said. "We don't even issue these kinds of notices without a board vote. She's completely out of line." That gave me confidence, but it didn't stop Karen. No, she doubled down. Over the next week, she patrolled the neighborhood like some kind of self-appointed sheriff. Anytime a relative dropped by to help me set up, she'd march over, demanding to know how long they were staying. She even started taking pictures of cars parked near my driveway, as if she were building a legal case. Word spread quickly through the neighborhood. Some neighbors were amused, others annoyed. A few even warned me, "She's relentless." She once called animal control because a kid's birthday. Party had a petting zoo. That didn't scare me, though. If anything, it fired me up more. By now, my family reunion had turned into something bigger. It wasn't just about celebrating with loved ones. It was about standing up to Karen's nonsense once and for all. My cousins were texting me, "Don't cancel. We'll back you up." Even neighbors I barely knew were offering support, saying things like, "We'll bring extra chairs. She can't stop the whole block." But Karen wasn't done scheming. A few days before the reunion, I spotted her in her driveway on the phone, speaking loudly so I could overhear. "Yes, officer," she said. "There will be a huge illegal gathering here, blocking roads, causing noise. You might want to send a patrol that day." That's when it hit me. Karen wasn't just going to complain. She was planning to bring the police into this. The morning of the reunion arrived, and I woke up earlier than usual. My backyard was already prepped. Tables lined with fresh tablecloths, coolers filled with drinks, and the smell of marinated meat waiting for the grill. My kids bounced with excitement, and my wife double-checked everything from the seating arrangements to the dessert trays. The stage was set for a perfect family day. But across the street, Karen was already lurking. Curtains pulled back, phone in hand. She was watching every move we made. It was almost comical. She looked like a watchdog waiting for something to pounce on. By noon, the first wave of family members arrived. Hugs, laughter, and joyful greetings filled the air. Cars lined the street, yes, but everyone parked respectfully. No driveways were blocked, and traffic flowed just fine. Still, I noticed Karen snapping photos, muttering to herself. An hour later, the reunion was in full swing. The grill sizzled, kids played tag on the lawn, and relatives shared stories they hadn't told in years. It was exactly the kind of warmth and joy I had hoped for. Then, right as I was serving burgers to my cousins, I saw flashing lights. 2 police cars pulled up slowly, their presence instantly silencing the laughter. Everyone turned to look. And who was standing on her front porch? Waving them down like she was the hero of the neighborhood? Karen. The officer stepped out, calm but professional. "Sir," one said, approaching me, "we received a complaint about an illegal event. Excessive noise and obstruction of traffic." I could see my relatives tense up, worried the party might be shut down. But I kept my cool. "Officers," I replied, "this is a private family reunion on my property. We're not breaking any laws. Nobody's blocking the street, and the noise level is just normal family fun." Karen stormed over before they could respond. "This is outrageous!" she screeched. "Look at all these cars. Look at all these people. They're ruining the peace of this neighborhood. This entire event is against HOA rules." One of the officers raised an eyebrow. "Ma'am, HOA rules aren't enforceable by the police. We're here for actual violations, not neighborhood drama." The other officer did a quick walk around, then returned with a smirk. "Everything looks fine. No laws being broken. Just folks enjoying themselves." Karen's face turned beet red. "You can't just let them get away with this," she cried. The officer chuckled. "Actually, ma'am, we can, and we will." The entire family erupted in laughter, clapping and cheering. Karen stomped back across the street, humiliated. But little did she know, that was only the beginning of my legendary payback. Karen thought the cops showing up would scare us into ending the reunion. Instead, it backfired spectacularly. My relatives bonded even more over the absurdity of it all. The officers, once they realized what was going on, even stayed for a burger before heading out. That moment sealed it. Karen had officially lost the battle. But I wasn't satisfied with just winning the day. I wanted to make sure she thought twice before ever pulling a stunt like this again. The idea came to me as I watched my cousins dancing in the backyard later that evening. Karen had tried to humiliate me in front of my family, so my payback needed to flip the script. In public, where the whole neighborhood could see. But it also had to be clever, legal, and unforgettable. First, I called up Mr. Rivera, the HOA president. I told him about the fake letter Karen sent me, complete with the phony HOA logo and threats of eviction. His reaction? Pure outrage. "That's forgery and it makes the HOA look bad," he said. "She can't just impersonate the board." He promised to bring it up at the next HOA meeting, and I knew that alone would sting. But I had something bigger in mind. The following week, my family reunion photos started popping up online. Cousins shared them, neighbors tagged themselves, and soon the whole block had seen the joy Karen tried to destroy. Instead of complaints, the comments were glowing. "Best party of the summer. So glad our neighborhood feels alive again. Wish more people did this." It was exactly the opposite of what Karen wanted. Then came the grand finale. I decided to host a neighborhood appreciation cookout, open to everyone, except Karen. I printed flyers, handed them door to door, and made sure people knew this was a celebration of community spirit. Free food, games for the kids, and music under the stars. My family offered to help, and even neighbors volunteered to bring side dishes. When the day arrived, nearly the entire neighborhood showed up. People mingled, laughed, and shared stories well into the evening. And across the street, Karen stood on her porch, glaring like a storm cloud no one invited. She couldn't call the cops this time. There was nothing illegal about neighbors gathering. She couldn't complain to the HOA either, because the president himself was flipping burgers at my grill. Her face when she saw that, priceless. I didn't have to say a word. My payback was unfolding right before her eyes. But it wasn't until the HOA meeting the following week that the true blow landed. The night of the HOA meeting felt electric. Word had spread about the family reunion, the cookout, and Karen's meltdown. The community center was fuller than usual, with neighbors curious to see what drama might unfold. I showed up early with a folder tucked under my arm. Inside it, the fake official notice Karen had slipped into my mailbox. When the meeting started, Mr. Rivera, the HOA president, quickly got to the point. Before we begin with regular business, there's an urgent matter of misconduct we need to address, he announced. Every head in the room turned toward Karen, who sat near the front with her arms crossed. Wearing her trademark scowl, Rivera held up a paper. One of our residents received this letter. It claims to be from the HOA, threatening fines and even eviction for hosting a family event. But here's the problem. This letter wasn't issued by us. It's a forgery. Gasps echoed through the room. Karen shifted in her chair, but kept her chin high, as if daring anyone to accuse her outright. That's when I raised my hand. That letter was delivered to me, I said, standing. I pulled the paper from my folder and handed it to Rivera. And I think everyone here knows exactly who wrote it. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. A neighbor in the back blurted out, "Of course it was Karen." Others nodded in agreement. Karen's face turned crimson. "You can't prove anything," she snapped. Rivera's tone stayed calm but firm. "Actually, we can. This logo was copied from an old HOA newsletter, one that only board members and select volunteers had access to. And the wording? Nearly identical to an email you sent last year about a block party." The room buzzed with whispers, and Karen's composure cracked. She stammered, "I was just protecting the neighborhood." That was it. Neighbors who'd stayed quiet for years began speaking up. One recounted how Karen had reported their kids for chalk drawings on the sidewalk. Another mentioned her constant harassment over holiday decorations. One by one, stories piled up, painting a picture of someone who had bullied the entire community. Finally, Rivera laid down the hammer. "Karen, your actions have caused embarrassment to this board and this neighborhood. Effective immediately, you are barred from any involvement in HOA operations. And if we receive further complaints about harassment, we'll pursue legal action." The applause that followed was deafening. Karen stormed out, defeated, while neighbors clapped me on the back and thanked me for standing up. For the first time in years, the community felt free of her shadow. As I walked home that night, I couldn't help but smile. My family reunion wasn't just a success. It sparked the downfall of the neighborhood tyrant. And that, my friends, was truly legendary. And that's how my family reunion turned into the downfall of HOA Karen herself. If you enjoyed this drama, smash that like button, and don't forget to subscribe for more videos.